right. Hello and welcome to Fuck It, I'm Done, a health and fitness podcast for grown-ass women. I believe we are on episode 3, y'all. Whopping number 3. For today, I am actually going to be talking about protein. I get a lot of questions about protein as a personal trainer. It's a confusing topic for a lot of people. What I have discovered, though, is almost everyone knows that they're supposed to be eating a lot of protein. The question is, well, what is a lot? What constitutes enough? Where do I get it? And how do I get that in my day? So, my plan is to cover all of those questions, answer them to the best of my ability, and leave you with some tools that you can implement in your life to increase your protein intake. So first off, let's just talk briefly about what protein is without getting too sciencey. Protein is a building block that we use in our body for just about everything. It's definitely most famous for muscle growth and repair. However, we use protein in the very makeup of our soft tissues. So if you think about lung tissue or the tissue used to make your arteries and your blood vessels, all of that is also coming from protein, not just your muscle. In addition to being the building blocks of soft tissue, protein is also used in the creation and regulation of hormones. It's used in the regulation of appetite and metabolism, and it is actually what carries oxygen through your body. A lot of people know that there's this thing called hemoglobin, which is what carries oxygen to the tissues of the body. A lot of people don't realize that that is actually a protein that is packed into your red blood cells. So protein is a workhorse in the human body, which is why we need so damn much of it. And as we grow older, as women grow older, we actually become less efficient in metabolizing protein. So you're going to have to eat even more protein as you get older than you did when you were younger. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. So, the question that most of my clients come to me with almost in our first session together is, well, how much protein do I need to be getting? And I have to be honest, they're usually not very happy with me when I answer the question because the answer is a lot. It's 1 gram per pound of body weight. For those who don't know what their lean body mass is, that's the recommendation. If you know what your lean body mass is, then we can say for starters 1 gram per pound of lean body weight. How do you know what that is? What does that mean? So lean body weight is your total body weight minus your fat weight. How do you find that out? DEXA. Go get a DEXA and you get to eat less protein. So if you weren't convinced that DEXA was something you wanted to do before, I hope that now it's something that you go do. But regardless of whether you're going by lean body weight or you're going by total body weight, it's a lot. It's a lot. So for me, I go by my lean body weight because I've had my DEXA, and that's 120 grams of protein per day. If I were to go by my actual body weight, which I did for a while, that's 167 grams of protein per day. Just to give you an idea of where you're probably at, most Americans eat anywhere between 40 and 60 grams. So you are looking, if you're on the high end of that, you're looking at doubling that intake every day. And that is daunting. So the question is, how do we get there? Because a lot of times we hear a recommendation like that and we try to do it overnight and we end up sick and it's not sustainable. So the trick is knowing how to gradually increase your protein intake and still be comfortable in your body. And I have a system for that. The first step is to know what your protein baseline is. We want to start you where you already are. And in order to find that out, you do have to track protein from anywhere between 3 and 7 days. Obviously, the more days you're tracking, the more data we have, and the better recommendation I can give you as far as baseline. But you track that protein over those 3 to 7 days, you just average it. And then that average is your goal. I like to have people eat that baseline for an entire month. And then from there, as they feel ready, we increase their protein in an amount that makes sense for them, where they feel that they can be successful. My general recommendation is increasing it by 25 grams per day, but there are some people who just can't handle that. So we go, maybe it's 10 grams a day. So what does it look like to eat 25 grams of protein? This is a pretty standard unit, and I like to use it because it's user friendly. So 25 grams of protein, if you want to add that to your diet, is usually about 4 ounces of meat. Or if you don't want to use a food scale, think about like the size of a deck of cards. And that's about 25 grams of protein. You can also use protein shakes, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But protein shakes, anywhere between 20 to 25 grams per scoop of protein shake. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of how you can add 25 grams to your diet once you have your baseline. So then the question is, okay, I need to add 25 grams of protein to my diet. What does that look like? How do I get it? Where do I get it? Y'all, meat is king. Like I said what I said, meat is king. You need to be eating meat. Beef, chicken, fish, poultry, pork, I don't care. Any kind of meat, whatever meat you like, with the exception of highly processed meats. So hot dogs, sausages, no bacon. That's really more like fat than it is protein. Okay, so unfortunately, a lot of those breakfast meats, they do not count towards your protein total. They are going to count a ton towards your fat total. They are not a great way to get a lot of protein. But other than that, natural meat sources, great way to get it, healthiest way to get it. Your body knows what to do with meat. For those of you who are vegetarian, I would be a lazy coach if I pretended that you cannot get enough protein as a vegetarian. The truth is you can, but it's tricky, okay? This gets into essential amino acids, and I'm just going to go through this briefly to just kind of help anyone who may be a vegetarian and listening to this. So there are 20 essential amino acids, and those are the building blocks of protein, okay? So if we were to break protein apart, we would get these essential amino acids. 11 of those our body makes all by itself. 9 it doesn't make, and we have to get it from our diet. Now, animal proteins offer us all 9 of those essential amino acids. They are called complete proteins, which is why it's so easy to get protein from animal sources. Now, if you're not eating animal sources, you can still get the 9 essential amino acids, but you need to be very, very aware of which essential acids are in which food so that you can choose combinations and you can create a diet that has all of those 9 essential amino acids. You need to be getting those every day. So vegetarians can do it. They can have a high protein diet, but it does take a lot of thought. And usually you have to eat quite a bit more as well. But if you want more details and you want some examples of a few vegetarian foods that actually are complete proteins, go check out my blog on my website, saveyourselfcoaching.com. I put all of that information in the blog. So, what are some other sources of protein? Well, we have dairy. Now, the caveat with dairy, as always, is that if you have a dairy sensitivity, and I'm not just talking lactose intolerant, I'm talking you've been through an elimination diet and you know you are sensitive to dairy or you suspect you may be sensitive, please don't include this in your diet. It's not worth it. There are other ways to get the protein. But there are some great sources of protein out there that also are dairy. 2 of my favorite, before I found out about my dairy intolerance, were Greek yogurt, the Costco brand. It's like, I think in a white and green, very very heavy on the protein, low in fat. It's a great choice. I would mix it at night with my chocolate protein powder, and I'd call it protein pudding. And it was a heavy hitter, and it was sweet and relatively light. I didn't feel heavy after eating it. So that's a great option. Another one is low-fat cottage cheese. That's actually a pretty heavy hitter when it comes to protein as well. So the trick with finding protein sources is really just to make sure that when you look at the macros, right, the fat, the protein, and the carbohydrates, you want to make sure that protein is the highest count. And a high protein source, it really shouldn't have less than 20 grams, maybe 15 grams of protein. If it doesn't have at least 15 grams of protein, y'all, it's not high protein. I see that abused all the time in the grocery store where there's like a pack of chips that says high protein. And I'm always curious, and I turn it over and it says something like 5 grams of protein. Y'all, it's not high protein. Just put that back. That's garbage. It's full of processed fillers. It doesn't offer you a lot of protein. Don't fall for the gimmicks. Meat, dairy, protein shakes. When it comes to protein shakes, whey is your biggest bang for your buck, for sure. But again, if you have or suspect a dairy sensitivity, you do not want to add this into your diet. There are other ways to get protein. If, however, you're not dairy sensitive, use whey protein. It's fantastic. Isolate, concentrate. My biggest piece of advice would be double check the ingredients and make sure it's clean. If it's full of things you can't say, if it has tons of ingredients, stay away from it. Protein shakes are notorious for having unnecessary fillers. And then just like with the packaged goods or the dairy, double check and make sure that protein is the highest gram count. We want to make sure that most of the nutrition in that shake is coming from protein. It's not coming from fat, and it's not coming from carbohydrates. It should only have a few grams of those. So double check, because a lot of times things are advertised as protein shakes, and what they really are meal replacement shakes. And then people wonder why they don't feel good or why their weight is going up. It's because there are so many calories in this supposed protein shake. So just double check the label. And then the other thing I would talk about is if you do have lactose intolerance, if you do have dairy sensitivity, there are a couple other options. There are vegan proteins. There is a company called Just Ingredients. And I've actually tried their vegan protein. It wasn't for me, but it might be for you. So you don't know until you try it. Like I said, it's Just Ingredients. You can go and check it out. The reason I like that one as a vegetarian protein is it has all essential amino acids. So I actually researched all of the ingredients on the list, and it really is a full essential amino acid profile for that vegetarian shake, which is why I mention it at all. The other option you have for getting protein is bone broth protein, which is what I use. There are 2 brands that I can recommend. Ancient Nutrition, that is my preferred brand. It tastes better, it feels better in the tummy, and it's clean. So give that a look, Ancient Nutrition, and it's bone broth protein. They also have bone broth collagen. That doesn't have as much protein in it. So you want to go for the protein powder to get the most bang for your buck. And then the other brand I can recommend is Left Coast Performance. Now, I do want to say with this one, there is only one flavor that I recommend, and that is the pure, the plain. The other ones have a lot of fillers. They have a lot of artificial sweeteners. I don't recommend those, but I can recommend the plain. It is not the best tasting. I'm not going to lie to you. The struggle for a good protein shake is real. I have to put this one in a smoothie. I use frozen berries and some nut butter and sometimes other weird things. We won't go there. But if you like a smoothie with some frozen berries, some nut butter, and it hides the taste pretty well, and it agrees with my stomach. So my tongue isn't a particular fan. However, my stomach does really like it. So those are some options for your protein, right? Meat, dairy, protein shakes. Just be aware of what you're looking for and be on the lookout for false advertising and fillers. Protein bars, I'm just going to nix that. I have not found a protein bar yet where I can be like, oh, I feel great after I eat this, or that is particularly clean. The closest I've come is Bear Bells, but eventually it is whey protein, and eventually my stomach just couldn't tolerate them anymore. At the time, I was confused as to why. Now I understand. But in general, I would stay away from protein bars. Beef jerky that is clean and doesn't have sugar, that's a great option if you need to just throw a snack in your purse. Chomps, they're beef sticks. They also have turkey sticks. Those are great. I know they sell them at Costco, and I think they're at most other grocers as well. And then the last thing I'll mention is Epic pork rinds. Those are also really good, and if you were a chip fan or are a chip fan, they may really hit the spot for you because they are salty and they are crunchy, and they come in at 11 grams of protein per half ounce. So fantastic snack. So from here, I guess more than anything, I want you to be able to use the information I'm giving you. And when it comes to your protein intake and increasing that in your life, the first step is finding your protein baseline. So over this next week, take some time to do that. 3 to 7 days, track your protein. And if you're looking for some accountability, or if you just want to talk about it, I have actually set up a Facebook page. It caused me a lot of pain. I hate Facebook. I'm not going to lie to you, but I was like, maybe we can use this for good. You can head over to my Facebook page. It's Save Yourself Coaching, and tell me what your experience was like. Tell me what your protein baseline was like. Ask me some questions. I'll go in there and answer them. So, and even if it's not about protein, like, I want people to have a place they can go to get real answers about health and fitness. So take some time, find your protein baseline, and get started on your journey right now. Don't wait until you get older. Start now. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you later. Bye.